in order to get her friend's boyfriend. She pushed her friend off a cliff. Just a few days ago, Yunjo decided to introduce her fiancé Sun-ho to her friends. Her friends were happy that she had found happiness, but the moment she saw Sun-ho, Hora's smile froze. Because Sun-ho was her crush, Yunjo was beaming with happiness, but Hara was filled with anger and resentment. For 3 years, she was shooting abroad. She didn't know that they were together. The surprise was more like a shock to her. Watching them show their love at the dinner table, Hara couldn't accept that the one she loved was taken away from her, so she left in anger. When she got home, she vented her anger. She's been in love with Sun-ho since high school. She thought Yunjo had ruined her relationship. That night, she took Sun-ho to a hotel in her skimpy clothes. Hara confessed her love, but Sun-ho always treated her like a sister. After being rejected, she didn't want to give up. She forcefully stopped Sun-ho and kissed him, but Sun-ho pushed her away. He said that he only had Yunjo in his heart and didn't want her to get hurt. Hara was devastated. She couldn't let it go. She vowed to get Sun-ho no matter what. She found out that another friend, Shulin, had stolen Yunjo's designs for a competition. This gave Hara a ray of hope. She asked Sun-ho to meet her again and apologized for what happened last time. She lied and said she would sort out her feelings. After all, Yunjo is her best friend. Sun-ho was very happy, so he says he's worried about proposing. Hara offered to help them plan their proposal. This made Sun-ho very grateful, but he didn't know that Hara was trying to sabotage the proposal. While she was preparing for it, she deliberately talked about Shulin stealing Yunjo's design. Shulin, who was feeling weak, didn't know what to do. They're both in the final stages of vetting. If Yunjo shows up at the interview tomorrow, then it will be exposed that she stole the blueprints. Hara deliberately told her that Yunjo was allergic to almonds. Shulin instantly realized what she meant, so she secretly sprinkled almond flour on the cake. Hara told Yunjo it was specially prepared for her. She took a few bites. She soon realizes the ring hidden inside. Sun-ho suddenly appeared with flowers in his hand. Yunjo is touched by this proposal, but before the ring could be put on, she fainted with shortness of breath. Hara was very happy to see this, but what she didn't expect, it made the two of them feel more connected. They were both afraid of losing each other. Sun-ho proposed to Yunjo right in the hospital room. Hara in the doorway was furious. Yunjo had pimples on her face due to allergies. She was going to give up the interview, but Sun-ho's sister was good at makeup. With her makeup, Yunjo regained her confidence. When she came to the interview, she realized that Shulin had stolen her design. She didn't reveal it and opted out, and that's a big blow to Shulin's self-esteem. Yunjo really wants her to succeed, but Shulin's heart wasn't in the right place. She's staying at Yunjo's house. Her father also works in Yunjo's garment town. She thinks Yunjo is pitying her, so he resented Yunjo, and Hara saw Yunjo's pregnancy in the hospital. On the outside, she sends her best wishes. Inside, she's already in turmoil. If Sun-ho finds out that Yunjo is pregnant, she won't have a chance to woo him. Realizing the crisis, she had an ulterior motive, so on the pretext of helping Shulin to win the competition, she asked her to find a way to poison Yunjo. Hara threatened Shulin that if she didn't do what she said, she'll expose her for stealing the designs. Under her coercion, Shulin had to give in. The two lied about organizing a pre-wedding party for Yunjo. They took her to a villa in the suburbs, but she didn't know that Shulin had secretly poisoned the juice. She trembled as she brought it to Yunjo. Yunjo drank it unawares. She didn't notice the panic in their eyes. Unsurprisingly, the poison took effect very quickly. She realized instantly that there was something wrong with the juice, so she asked Shulin what she was drinking. Shulin was so nervous that she told the truth about the poison, and told her that Hara was the mastermind. Yunjo couldn't believe it. She didn't understand why they did it. She was worried that her baby was in danger, so she begged them to save her, but they had no intention of saving her. Suddenly there was a flash of lightning and thunder. Yunjo was frightened and fell over the fence. Hara catches her in the nick of time, but in her jealousy, Hara let go of her hand, and Yunjo couldn't understand why they did it. But in front of the rescue team and Yunjo's family, Hara pretended to be heartbroken. Her hypocrisy is not appreciated by Shulin. The next day, she came to Yunjo's house. Not only did she steal Yunjo's ultrasound, she even threw the doll she had made for her baby into the fire, so that Sun-ho wouldn't feel guilty about accepting her. After days of searching, there was no sign of Yunjo. The search team was about to give up. Sun-ho was devastated and couldn't accept it. A few days later, a man found a woman's body while fishing. The rescue team brought the remains. After confirming that the remains belonged to their daughter, this dashed the family's remaining hope, as there was no suspicion of homicide and it was determined that the fall was a slip and fall, so the police didn't do an autopsy report. The news left Sun-ho devastated. He went to the river and tried to kill himself. Then Hara arrived. She ran forward to stop Sun-ho from committing suicide. With Hora's persuasion, Sun-ho stopped trying to kill himself. At Yunjo's funeral, mother went mad, and the father secretly wept. After all, the loss of his lively and cheerful daughter, he couldn't get over the pain. Then he realized that Sun-ho was being taken care of by his daughter's friend. Yunjo's father sighed. He was also disappointed in Sun-ho. Looking at Yunjo's portrait, Sun-ho remembers the good old days of the two of them. At this moment, He is crying uncontrollably. Hara comforts him sweetly. Meanwhile, a woman came to the river. Her daughter had disappeared from the river a while back. She was grieving. She suddenly heard someone calling for her mother. The woman was thrilled. She thought her daughter had returned. After searching, she found Yunjo lying on a rock. For a woman, it might be a sign of hope. She couldn't save her daughter. Now she had to save Yunjo no matter what. She registered Yunjo as her daughter. After an emergency, Yunjo regained her vital signs. But the situation is not good. The woman learns that Yunjo has miscarried due to poisoning. She realized that Yunjo must have had a dark past, so she didn't choose to call the police. What the woman didn't know, on the day Yunjo was killed, she saw her daughter. Seeing her in a state of madness, Yunjo took pity on her and gave her his coat. And this reversed their identities. Yunjo's cell phone received an appointment at the gynecology department. When the father saw the message, he was puzzled. He went to the hospital and found out that his daughter was pregnant. He remembered that Hara had helped him get discharged. There's no way she didn't know about Yunjo's pregnancy. And Shilin said she didn't come to her daughter's funeral because she was scared. This made Yunjo's father suspicious. He wanted to talk to Shilin and Hara to find out what happened on the day of the accident, but Shilin was very hesitant on the phone. This increased Yunjo's father's suspicion. When he arrived at Shilin's house and saw her running away with her luggage, she panicked and said she had nothing to do with Yunjo. Yunjo's father was convinced there was something to hide. While the two of them were arguing, he had a heart attack. He fell to the ground, and then Hara arrived. She didn't have to hide it anymore. She told him everything about Yunjo's death. Shilin brought medicine to save Yunjo's father, but Hara stopped her. In the end, Yunjo's father died in front of them. She lost the two most important people in her life in just a few days. It was too much for Yunjo's mother to bear, but the two friends pretended to have their own agendas. One wanted to use Yunjo's designs to study abroad. One wants to get Yunjo's boyfriend. Sun Ho is in pain over the loss of his fiancée. He can only drink to ease his sorrows, but that's when Hara saw an opportunity. She took the drunken Sun Ho to a hotel. In a trance, Sun Ho mistook her for Yunjo. He couldn't help but hug Hara. Sun Ho woke up the next day and was dumbfounded. He doesn't remember anything from last night, and Hara knew that she had become a double, but she didn't care. As long as she gets this man, it doesn't matter. Sun Ho tries to run away in a panic, but the tugging and pulling is being witnessed by Hara's family. Hara's mother, Jingshu, is playing a game to get ahead. She wants her daughter to marry into a rich family. Sun Ho is just an ordinary employee. She won't agree to it. On the other side, a disgraced Sun Ho fell on his knees by the river where Yunjo's accident took place. He feels deeply remorseful for his behavior. Jingshu deliberately transferred Sun Ho to an overseas job to prevent them from getting together. Saddened, Sun Ho didn't want to stay any longer, so he agreed to Jingshu's request. Hara was devastated to learn this, but there was nothing she could do about her strong mother. Before leaving, Sun Ho came to say goodbye to Yunjo, but no matter how much he grieved, Yunjo couldn't come back. Hara lay on the bed without eating or drinking to make her mother give in, but suddenly she felt sick. After checking the calendar, she realized that she might be pregnant. On the other hand, Sun Ho got Hara on the phone. He got the news that Hara was pregnant. This came as a shock to Sun Ho. In order to ascertain the pregnancy, she wanted Sun Ho to go with her for a checkup. After confirming the pregnancy, Sun Ho was not so happy, and Hara lied that the baby was Yunjo's incarnation to keep him. Then she convinced them to get married. This shook Sun Ho to his core. Hara also promised that if he agrees to come down, she will convince his parents. After Hara's death threat, Mom had to agree to their marriage, and so she got married to the man she loved. That day Shilin sneaked into Yunjo's room. She took all of Yunjo's clothes designs for herself. This would be her shortcut to success. And Shilin's father was equally ambitious. He was planning to take over Yunjo's family's fortune. To do so, he sent two thugs to Yunjo's house to collect the debt. The orphans and the mother were scared to death. Shilin's father lied about Yunjo's father's debts by signing a waiver of inheritance, so that her stupid son wouldn't have to pay his father's debts. Unknowingly, Yunjo's mother was coaxed by Shilin's father to put her seal on the deed. That's how he changed from a driver to the owner of a clothing business. But to their surprise, Yunjo was saved by a noble woman. But after the doctor's efforts, she stopped her heart. Just when the doctors were about to give up, Yunjo's will was strong. Yunjo miraculously came back to life. Soon after, she woke up. She called her family but there was no answer. She wanted to go home to see them, but the noble woman stopped her. She was worried that Yunjo might be in danger if she went out. She sent her secretary to investigate what happened at her house. She persuaded Yunjo to calm down and wait. The secretary soon had news. Yunjo was registered as dead. She disappeared from a party she threw with two friends before her wedding. One of the friends married Yunjo's boyfriend and had a child. The other won first place in a fashion design competition. She is currently studying abroad. Yunjo's father also died of a heart attack. The noble woman noblewoman realized that Yunjo's friend was a big suspect, and the secretary told her that Shilin's father had taken over Yunjo's clothing mall. All this makes the noble lady sigh. Suddenly she realizes that Yunjo hasn't returned from his walk. She asked her secretary to look for him, and at that moment, Yunjo came to Sun Ha's office on crutches. He looks like he's waiting for someone. Yunjo was so excited that she wanted to recognize him, but then Hara appeared. Yunjo couldn't believe that her boyfriend had married her friend, and what Yunjo couldn't accept. The noble woman told her about her father's death. Yunjo was devastated. One after another, she is in agony. The secretary found her and took her to her father's tombstone. Yunjo blamed herself for having met the wrong man. If it wasn't for those two friends, her father wouldn't have passed away like that. The next day Yunjo came home. The secretary told him that Shilin's father had not only taken over the garment mall, he threatened Yunjo's mother into giving up her inheritance. Yunjo's heart was broken as he watched his mother groveling as a nanny for Shilin's father. A happy family was torn apart by two friends. Yunjo was filled with remorse. In order not to hurt her mother, she didn't go to the hospital. On her way back to the hospital, Yunjo overheard the news that Hara had given birth. She couldn't stay calm at that moment. Hara had done this to herself, and she was not punished. Yunjo defied the secretary and insisted on finding Hara to find out what happened. The secretary had to call the noble woman. When Yunjo found Hara's room, she found Shilin there to congratulate her. She overheard their conversation and realized that they were involved in her father's death. Her anger flared up. She grabbed a pair of scissors and tried to kill them both, but she stumbled and fell to the ground. At that moment, the noble woman arrived in time to take Yunjo away with her secretary. Shilin came out to see if she was there. Madam scolded Yunjo for acting rashly and not thinking of her mother and brother. If you become a murderer, they'd be shunned for the rest of their lives. She reminded Yunjo that she had to make sure those people were punished, to give them back what they've suffered. That's true revenge. But how can she take revenge when she can't even stand on her own 2 feet? Madam has already contacted a doctor abroad for her. Only by becoming strong can she trample her enemies under her feet. These words restored Yunjo's confidence. She said goodbye to her mother and brother from afar. She was sad to see them go, but she boarded the plane to the other side of the world. 3 years later, Yunjo is back. The once innocent Yunjo has become a very powerful man. In order to reunite with her two friends, Yunjo invites them to the company's inaugural party as Jiaxin, the daughter of the group. Jingshu was thrilled to hear about it. She hadn't been able to receive it in all her years in the business world. She also told her daughter to dress up and attend. If they can get the investment from Ms. Huang, then their company will be able to develop overseas markets. On the day of the banquet, Ms. Huang gave a warm speech. Then he introduced his daughter, Jiaxin. Yunjo came out and read. Hara and Shilin couldn't believe it. The familiar face made them break out in a cold sweat. Seeing their shocked faces, that's exactly what Yunjo wanted. Shilin was too scared to look at them. Hara told her not to make a fuss. She thought it was just a resemblance. Just then, Sun Ho also came. Hara began to get nervous. After all, this young lady resembles Sun Ha's former fiancé. At that moment, Yunjo also noticed him. The man she used to love is married to a vicious friend. She was also looking forward to see how Sun Ho would look at her, but just as he turned back, Hara rushed in front of him. She pulled Sun Ho out on the pretext. She lied that her son was not feeling well and she had to pick him up from school. And that's how Sun Ho got away. Meanwhile, Yunjo came to greet Shilin. She reaches out and introduces herself as Jiaxin. Shilin suppressed the fear in her heart. Yunjo grabbed her hand with force. Shilin panicked and escaped from the building. She ran into Hara in the hallway. Shilin confirmed that it was Yunjo himself. Hara was furious and pushed her to the ground. She warned her not to talk about it in front of her husband. Yunjo watched with great satisfaction. She vowed to make them pay dearly. First she met Sun Ho on purpose. Sun Ho was shocked to see his fiancée of 3 years dead in front of him. He plucked up the courage to grab Yunjo, but Yunjo says he's mistaken her for someone else. But looking at the back of this woman, Sun Ho couldn't calm down for a long time. When he regained his senses, he immediately went after her. Yunjo hid and watched Sun Ha's anxiety. The first step of the plan was a success. Then she went to Hora's gym. She intentionally talked about her encounter with Sun Ho in the morning. While Hara was worried, Yunjo dropped his towel on the floor to make her notice his shoes. Then Yunjo used Jia Zin's identity to send the same shoes to Sun Ho. The purpose was to create conflict between the couple. They met again to discuss a company deal. Sun Ho couldn't believe that there were identical people in the world. Chairman Huang agreed to invest in their company, but one requirement was to make her daughter the head of new product development. So Yunjo gets a chance to be alone with Sun Ho. Since she's going to the store tomorrow to do research, she sent a special message to Sun Ho to wear those sneakers. The next day when they met, Yunjo deliberately tied his shoes for him. This familiar scene brought back memories for Sun Ho. When his fiancée Yunjo was like this, she was also so attentive. They went to the company mall for inspection. Sun Ho tries on clothes. Yunjo is trying to flirt with him, but Shilin found out about it, and then she told Hara about it. Hara was furious. She won't allow anyone to destroy her family. Shilin called another friend to identify Yunjo. She is Sun Ha's sister. She said that Yunjo's face was so disfigured by the river that he couldn't be identified. Yunjo's identity was only established through his belongings. Hearing this, Shilin was completely panicked. She immediately went to Hara and told her suspicions, but Hara scolded her to wake up. She's Chairman Huang's daughter. These words helped Shilin to dispel her doubts for the time being, but Hara was worried that Sun Ha's frequent meetings with Jiaxin and Yunjo's road to revenge has just begun. Jingshu came to power by forcing her husband's ex-wife to die. She wanted her daughter to inherit the family business. The old lady was disgusted with her, but her ex-daughter-in-law's grandson is a loser and doesn't care about the company. As a grandmother, she could only persuade him. She told him to find the evidence that his stepmother killed his mother. Yunjo has been following his family's life since he returned to China. Not only was his brother being bullied by Shilin, his mother has suffered a lot in their home, but they can't recognize each other yet. Seeing his family suffer, Yunjo could only hold back his grief. She wanted to give them money anonymously to improve their lives, but the greedy Shilin's father took it away from them. The poor mother and son had no choice but to let them suffer. Yunjo took it all to heart. She'll make sure they get what they deserve. Yunjo wanted to be the company's fashion director. Jingshu was against it. She was going to leave the position to Shilin, so that she can use it for her own purposes. Sun Ho proposes that the two of them compete fairly and organize a new product contest. Jingshu immediately informed Shilin and told her to win the competition no matter what. In order to make sure, she also bribed most of the shareholders to get Yunjo out as soon as possible. Yunjo didn't think so when she got the news. She knew that Shilin could never beat her. Yunjo didn't just enter the company to shake down Sun Ho. She wanted to drive Hara and Shilin crazy, and as expected, the revenge plan paid off. Hara saw those sneakers in her husband's office, and instantly remembered that Yunjo had the same pair. And then Sun Ho came back. She asks what happened to the shoes. Sun Ho told her that they were a gift from Karen Wang. Hearing this, Hara was very upset. She wants Sun Ho to stop hanging out with a woman who looks like Yunjo, but this investment is very important for the company. She can't give it up just because of that. Hara found Shilin to vent her frustration. She orders her to win the competition. Shilin was so sure that she would win, but then she buys the plan from somewhere, and the secretary has already found out. This gave Yunjo a chance to take advantage of the situation. On the day of the competition, Shilin was talking about it. Suddenly Yunjo came in. She exposed Shilin for stealing the plan, so Shilin was removed from the competition. Yunjo shared her design ideas with the shareholders. Sun Ho was impressed. Hee-jun was even more impressed. Even with Jingshu's obstruction, Hee-jun was even more impressed. Shilin was scolded for losing the game. At the signing ceremony, Hara reeked of alcohol. Yunjo purposely tried to shake hands with Sun Ho in front of her. When Hara saw this, she pushed Sun Ho away. Hara is furious. A sinister idea came to her again. The next day when Yunjo came to the beauty parlor, Hara poured a bottle of poison into a mask and asked the attendant to apply it on the face of the woman next door. The attendant dared not refuse. She came trembling to Yunjo. The attendant hesitates to do it. Suddenly Yunjo opens her eyes. She knew that the waiter was under orders. Then she told the truth. The waitress was bullied for not doing her job. She begged for forgiveness, but Hara wasn't going to let her go. What she didn't realize was that Yunjo had videotaped her violent treatment of the waitress. After Hara left, Yunjo came to check. The waitress was afraid to identify Hara. At that moment, Yunjo saw herself in the past. She reassured the waitress not to be afraid. With Yunjo's persuasion, the waitress agreed to release the video to expose Hara's evil deeds. The next day, Chairman O received a flash drive. He saw the video of his daughter abusing the waitress. He angrily called Jingshu over. If this video is released to the public, not only will the company's image be ruined, even his career path will suffer a fatal blow. He got up and went to Hara to question her. Jingshu promised to take care of it. Then she had the waitress arrested. She wanted to interrogate him herself, but Yunjo came before he could get to her. It turned out that the waiter had entrusted the matter to himself, and he's going to the board of directors to revoke Hara's ambassadorship. Jingshu panicked. Then Yunjo approached Chairman O and proposed a solution, publicly apologized to the waiter and compensated him. Yunjo, as an investor, Chairman O wouldn't dare offend him. Besides, this daughter has always been a disgrace to him. He immediately stripped Hara of all company business to avoid retaliation against the waitress. Yunjo asked his secretary to arrange everything for her. When she found out that Yunjo was behind all this, Hara was furious and slapped her in the face, and Yunjo returned the favor. Hara had never been so angry. When she was about to fight, Sun Ho rushes over and stops her. Hara came to her father and begged for forgiveness. She realizes her mistake and promises to change her ways, and Chairman O finally relented and forgave Hara. But as soon as she came out, she changed her face. Her mother praised her for her excellent acting, but their cheap tears could not be hidden from the old lady. She knew what they were like. Hara doesn't understand why this Jiaxin woman is always against her. On the other hand, Shilin suspected that Jiaxin was Yunjo's stupid brother. She suspected that Jiaxin was Yunjo. She talked to Hara about it. The two of them decided to test the waters in order to dispel the suspicion. They purposely invited Yunjo to a cafe. The brother is happy to see her. Suddenly Shilin poured juice on Yunjo's brother. Yunjo restrained his anger. If she went up to stop her, her identity would be exposed. But how could Yunjo watch her brother being bullied and not do anything about it? At that moment, Chairman Huang appeared and stopped her. She saw that it was a trap. Then she asked Shilin why she was beating up her own staff, and her brother cries to Yunjo about the bullying he suffered over the years. Yunjo pretended to be indifferent and watched her brother being taken away. This intensified her hatred for both of them. Chairman Huang then warned Shilin that it won't happen again. Through this incident, the two of them were able to dispel their doubts. But Yunjo has shaken her husband's heart. Hara vowed to eliminate Jiaxin. Shilin was stunned. Because of her brother, Yunjo is making things difficult for Shilin at work. This made her resentful. She peeked at Yunjo's designs again. Shilin was envious of her creativity. At the same time, she was in love with Hora's half-brother, Hee-jun. But Hee-jun was always around Yunjo, and that made her dislike Yunjo even worse. Hara encouraged her to come up with an evil idea. Then Shilin found the gangster who was pursuing her. She asked him to make Jiaxin disappear in front of her eyes, and the gangster did as he was told. That night, Yunjo was going home when the gangsters kidnapped her. Yunjo was left in a pit. The gangsters filmed her in a state of disarray. He sent it to Shilin, who was waiting anxiously. Soon Hara received the photo. She was overjoyed. But then a landslide buried Yunjo. The gangsters fled in terror of what they saw. With a strong desire to survive, Yunjo climbed out of the mound. She realized that Hara and Shilin were responsible. She vowed to kill them herself. The next day at the new design meeting, Shilin was still gloating, but just as she was about to present her design concept, Yunjo's voice came out of nowhere. She approached slowly. Shilin screamed in fear. When she came to her senses, Yunjo appeared in full formal attire. She was hallucinating. She ran out of the meeting room in a panic and abandoned the competition. Yunjo won the program without a doubt. When Chairman Huang found out that Yunjo had been persecuted again, she won't stand for it. She's going to make Hara and Shilin pay. At the moment, Shilin is worried about Jia Xin's revenge. Hara came to her in a rage and accused her of not doing her job properly, and she's blaming her for everything. On the other hand, Ms. Huang came to Mr. Wu in a rage, took out the video of Yunjo being kidnapped in the parking lot. She demanded an investigation, or else they'll stop the group's investment. After all, it's an accident in his own company. Chairman O immediately arranged for Sun Ho to investigate. While Hara and Sarim were worried about it, Yunjo offered to stop the investigation. She's thinking about the company and the progress of the new product. This is something that Chairman O admires. Yunjo is laying the groundwork for her revenge plan. The news soon reaches Shilin and Hara. Both of them are relieved to know that their hearts are hanging in the air. Chairman O apologizes and invites Yunjo and Chairman Huang to his home. And when Hara saw Yunjo having fun with her son, her anger flared up. After scolding her son, he ran away in tears. And getting close to their son was part of Yunjo's revenge plan. On this day, Shilin invited Hara to promote the business. Utilizing her influence as an entertainer, 200 expensive coats worth $10 million were sold out in no time. The two of them were complacent, but he didn't know that he had fallen into Yunjo's trap. Yunjo had arranged for people to return the products. They accused the products of being fake. Jingshu was furious when he found out Shilin really did use fake fur on his collar. If the news reaches Chairman O, they'll be punished. So they had to use private funds to cover the loss. But Shilin was responsible for this. Jingshu demanded that Shilin and his daughter pay for it. That's not all. The fake goods incident destroyed Hara's image that she had built up over the years. She taunted Shilin for not being her friend. In her eyes, Shilin is just a servant. She even wanted to marry Hee-jun. Jingshu was going to dump her, but Yunjo offered to give Shilin more competition before the launch of the new brand. On the other side, Hara took her son out shopping to bond with him. She saw a famous director casting a scene. In order to get a role, she decided to hide her son in the fitting room. Her son was scared and didn't want to be here. Hara forced her son to stay there. Helpless, he called Yunjo his number. Yunjo arrived soon after. She saw Hara laughing and joking. She couldn't say anything at the moment. After some searching, Yunjo found Hara's son. This made Yunjo very sad, so she decided to teach Hara a lesson. When she came back, she was so happy to find her son missing that she panicked. At this moment, Yunjo took the boy to his father. Sun Ho was furious to learn that Hara had left her son in the fitting room. Soon Hara rushed back home. When reprimanded, she lied that she had just left the room, but Sun Ho felt that she had no right to be a mother. The couple went into a cold war, and Yunjo posted the story online, exposing Hara's hypocrisy as a good wife and mother. While the family was celebrating Hara's new role, the day's events were reported on TV. That's when the director called and cancelled Hara's role. As publicity spread, she was labeled a villainess. Hara was desperate to turn the situation around. When she found out that her son had been brought back by Yunjo, She immediately approached her and asked her why she was accusing her. Then she deliberately fell to the ground. When she saw the crowd running, she covered her stomach and moaned in pain. It turns out that Hara had her pregnancy report falsified in advance. To frame Yunjo for sympathy, Hara pretended to faint. Sunho immediately took her to the hospital. Yunjo didn't know what he was up to, but when she saw the pill that fell out of Hora's bag, she seems to have guessed something. Hara spread the news about the miscarriage. Yunjo was sure of her suspicions. Then Jingchu came to ask for help. Yunjo told her that she saw the pill in Hora's bag. She wants to make it public again. Jingchu falls to her knees and pleads for her daughter. Hara is furious and doesn't know what to do. On the other side, facing the design of the new brand development competition, Shulin was clueless. She took out Yunjo's previous designs for inspiration, but as soon as she left the house, her bag was snatched by a thief. And it was Yunjo who snatched her bag. She threw them into the fire. Shulin has no one to turn to for inspiration. Shulin's dad is also undercover by Yunjo. Wook managed to gain Shulin's father's trust? He intentionally mentioned that he has a surefire project. Shulin's father, who's a money grower, wanted to invest in it right away, but he didn't know that he had fallen into Yunjo's trap. At the same time, Jingchu learned that Ms. Huang wanted to invest in a movie. This is a great opportunity for her daughter. No matter what, she has to get the lead role. That's why Jingchu went to Ms. Huang. She wants Hara to play the lead role in the movie, and she's willing to invest half of the movie's production costs. Ms. Huang purposely said that he didn't need to invest because he didn't need money. After Jingchu's repeated requests, she finally relented, but asked Hara to kneel down and apologize to her daughter. Then she would consider giving an audition, even though Hara was reluctant in her heart. But for the sake of this opportunity, but for the sake of this chance to get back on her feet, she had to agree to it. The next day, Hara came to me. She apologized for the false pregnancy and miscarriage, but even though she was begging, she reluctantly fell to her knees, and that's how she got her audition. But she didn't realize Yunjo was on the panel. After hearing Yunjo's audition question, she was reminded of the scene before Yunjo's father died. But in order to be the lead actress, Hara tried to calm down her emotions, and then, with her grimace, she reminded Yunjo of how her father was killed by her, and Yunjo's hatred for Hara grew stronger and stronger. She couldn't get over it until she got home. Mom came to check on her. Hara lied about not being able to get out of the role. Hara was happy to know that she had been selected. She didn't realize she was on her way to the boxing ring Yunjo had designed for her. The director was organizing a workshop for the weekend. Yunjo declined to attend. Hara, on the other hand, didn't hesitate to say yes, but she had already agreed to go camping with her son for the weekend. She had no choice but to give up the deal. For Hara, her dream of being an actor was bigger than her son. This disappointed Sunho. Sun remembered Yunjo, who had been playing with him, so he begged her to go camping with him. Yunjo came as promised. The camping trip also deepened their bond. Watching Sunho play with her son, she can't help but think of the children she's lost. Tired from playing, the boy fell asleep. Sunho realizes that he hasn't got his toys back. As Yunjo went to look for it, she accidentally sprained her foot. Sunho rushed over. He insisted on carrying Yunjo back. It was as if the two of them had gone back in time. When they got back, Sunho thoughtfully applied medicine to her, looking at her face, which looks exactly like his first love's. Sunho's heart is filled with mixed feelings. Yunjo was about to leave but Sunho stopped him. He cried and confessed his guilt for his first love. Yunjo is now in tears. Sunho offers to hug her. The man she loved so much shook Yunjo's goal of revenge. All of this is a great disappointment to Ms. Huang. All her years of hard work has been undone by a man. She asked Yunjo how she could talk about revenge in this condition. Why don't you go and meet your mother and brother? These words made Yunjo come to her senses. In order to get rid of her attachment to Sunho, Yunjo decided to use Heejun to achieve his goal. But Sholin has been pursuing Heejun all along. Gossip about the two of them is spreading in the company. Chairman Oh decided to let Heejun and Sholin get engaged to avoid affecting the company. But how could he agree to that? So he begged Yunjo to pretend to go out with him. It's a way to suppress Sholin and get rid of Sunho. Yunjo quickly agreed. That night, Heejun brought Yunjo to his home. The old lady was happy to know that they started dating. Mr. Oh and Jingshu felt it was too sudden. Hora and Sunho couldn't believe it. Sholin also came to the house. She didn't realize that Yunjo liked Heejun, and Yunjo is flirting with him made Heejun fall in love with her. Now Jingshu has transferred a large sum of money for the movie production. Sholin's dad has also diverted his secret money for investment. All of them are slowly walking into a trap. Yunjo's plan for revenge is about to begin. Under the pretext of preparing movie costumes, she invites Hora and the others to the school where they graduated. Bao Mei said that Jiaxin and Yunjo look alike. It's as if this is a class reunion. The other two didn't want to hear that. Hora urges them to show their costumes. The moment Yunjo pulled back the white cloth, Sholin was paralyzed with fear. Hora was even more terrified, because this is the same dress that Yunjo was wearing when they conspired to kill her. Seeing their shocked expressions, Yunjo was satisfied. She stepped in front of them and asked them if they had ever betrayed their friends. These words enraged Hora. and her past came back to haunt her. She'd rather give up her role as number one than wear this dress. Only Bao Mei has always taken care of her brother. This gave Yunjo a little more warmth in his quest for revenge, but she couldn't let up on her revenge against Hara. She changed the script on the fly, the same way she killed Yunjo. Hara didn't accept the arrangement. She refused to wear the suit, but Yunjo told her that if she didn't comply, she'd be breaking the contract. Hara had no choice but to destroy the costume, but she didn't want to do it herself, so she arranged for Shilin to do it. It was a chance to pass the buck to Yunjo. Shilin agreed without hesitation. That night she went to the warehouse and doused all the clothes with gasoline. When Yunjo suddenly came in, Shilin threw her lighter in a panic. The fire started instantly. When Yunjo wasn't looking, she slipped out and locked the door behind her. Yunjo realized the fire was spreading, but there was nothing she could do. She tried to get someone to put out the fire, but the door wouldn't open. She had to call the security guard. Sun Ho and Hee-jun arrived at the same time. When they opened the door, they found Yunjo passed out. Suddenly the container collapsed. Sun Ho didn't hesitate to protect Yunjo. He urged Hee-jun to take Yunjo to the hospital despite his injuries. Hara was happy to see Yunjo unconscious. Then Sun Ho came out from inside. Hara was worried and ran up to him, but now Sun Ho only cares about Yunjo. This made Hara hate Yunjo even more. She woke up soon and was fine. Hee-jun stayed by her side all the time, but Sun Ho didn't know why he was bothering them. As long as Yunjo is okay, he is relieved. Yunjo was upset to know that Sun Ho was hurt because of her. She didn't expect Sun Ho to hug her. In order to fulfill her revenge plan, Yunjo couldn't let herself get caught up in it. That's when Hee-jun came over. In order to make Sun Ho's heart stop, she went to Hee-jun and kissed him. Sun Ho was heartbroken at this scene, and Hee-jun was so excited to be loved by his favorite. He was so excited. On the other side, Yunjo knew that Hara and Shilin must be responsible for the destruction of the costumes, so she decided to speed up her revenge plan. Yunjo went on a webcast as a Dongdaemun goddess. The clothes she designed were auctioned for $7 million. This seems to give Shilin hope. She made a very attractive offer to have the Dongdaemun goddess design for her. That way, she won't be afraid that she can't win against Yunjo, but she didn't know that she had fallen into a trap. On the day the movie started shooting, Shilin received a package. When she opened it, it was a bottle of poison. She instantly remembered that this was the medicine Hara had used to poison Yunjo. At that moment, Dongdaemun goddess sent her a message threatening her to poison Hora's wine. Otherwise, she'll reveal the secret of her costume design. For the sake of her heart's desire, Shilin had to do what she was told, just like 3 years ago. This time it was to poison Hara. At the same time, Hara received a package. When she opened it, it's Yunjo's clothes. She was in a state of shock. As the movie was about to start shooting, Hara had to wear the dress. The scene from 3 years ago came back to life. Shilin was so nervous that he held his breath. Yunjo watched from the sidelines. When Hora's blindfold was opened, Yunjo's words suddenly came to her ears. She tries to contain her fear and acts surprised. Hara trembled as she took the juice. She was worried that it might be poison too, but it's a movie. She had to drink it even if she didn't want to. However, soon she covered her stomach. Then she collapsed on the floor. Yunjo had ordered Shilin to poison the juice. A few drops of water were put in the juice, but Hara, who had a ghost in her heart, fainted. The uninformed staff was impressed by Hora's performance. When Hara didn't get up, the staff took her to the hospital. This is exactly what Yunjo wanted. In the hospital, Hara was in a state of shock. She covered her stomach and kept saying she lost her son. It was only when her son arrived that she came to her senses. Shilin couldn't have imagined that Dongdaemun's goddess had designed the same clothes that Yunjo wore when she was murdered. She was afraid that Hara would come after her again, so she went straight to her and told her that the reason why she designed the clothes that Yunjo wore when he died. She wanted to make her suffer, but Bao Mei overheard everything, which made it all the more strange, because when she claimed Yunjo as belongings, it was a yellow coat. How could it be this dress? And thinking about her recent contact with Jiaxin, Yunjo's image always appeared on her. In order to verify her suspicions, Bao Mei came to her at the first opportunity. Yunjo couldn't hide it any longer. She told her the whole story. Bao Mei was shocked. She was furious and wanted to expose what Hara and Shilin had done. Yunjo advised her not to do so. She wants to take revenge on both of them with her own hands. Bao Mei agrees to keep it a secret because of Yunjo's suffering. Hara went into a trance because of that scene. She killed Yunjo's child. Sun Ho couldn't accept his wife in this state, so he took his son to his grandmother's care. When Hara came to know about it, she went straight to her door and took her son away. As an actress, she had to maintain the image of family harmony. As she had to give an interview to a reporter, she told her son to behave well, but he was afraid of her. When Yunjo came in, he ran and hid behind her. At the crucial moment, Shilin tells Hara that Yunjo is going with Sun Ho to the shopping mall, and that there seems to be some kind of an affair between them. How could Hara tolerate the two going out alone? Yunjo almost got knocked down by a coat rack. Sun Ho just helped her. Hara saw this. She angrily pushed Yunjo to the ground. Luckily, Hee-jun appeared to break the ice. Sun Ho was always protecting Yunjo. This made Hara realize the crisis. She came for a manicure and asked for a sharp edge. Then Yunjo received a text message from Hara asking for a meeting. They went to the rooftop. Hara slapped her across the face. Then she pushed Yunjo to the edge of the rooftop. While Yunjo was struggling in pain, Hee-jun arrived just in time. But this was just part of Yunjo's revenge plan. On the other side, Sun Ho found out about this from Hee-jun. He was so disappointed in Hara, so he asked Hara out and asked for a divorce. Hara was worried that if people around her saw it, it would affect her acting career. It's not that easy to get a divorce. Hara blamed Yunjo for everything. She thought she was the one who swayed her husband's heart. Sun Ho took her son to her mother's house again. He's determined to divorce Hara, and in order to keep him with her, she arranged for her son to be kidnapped. His son is missing. Sun Ho was in a state of anxiety. Just when he was about to call the police, Hara called him and told him that she had his son. Sun Ho could never have imagined that Hara could do such a thing. She told Sun Ho to return home if he wanted to see his son. But when Sun Ho came back, Hara never mentioned anything about her son. She asked Sun Ho to act like a loving couple in front of the public. Otherwise, she couldn't guarantee what she would do. Sun Ho came to his son's room. He blamed himself for hurting his son with their conflict. At the press conference the next day, Hara asks him to keep his wedding ring on. Today's performance meant that he would not be able to see his son, though Sun Ho was still drained. But he managed to get by. Hara was satisfied, so he dialed his son's number. But before he could say a few words, Hara grabbed the phone and hung up. Only when she promised not to meet Jiaxin in private, only then she would bring back her son. This made Sun Ho furious. Shilin threatened Yunjo with a public announcement about her involvement in someone else's family. But Yunjo doesn't care. Once the news gets out, Hara will not let her go. Shilin then approached Jingshu. Jingshu was worried that if Yunjo married Hee-jun, her daughter wouldn't get the right to inherit from Chairman Oh. So the two of them plotted to create a scandal to make things difficult for Hee-jun. Shilin and Hee-jun kissed in front of all the reporters. Before Hee-jun could understand the situation, Shilin announced that they decided to get married. Jingshu is secretly happy. My husband was so angry that he didn't know what to do. How could Hee-jun marry someone he doesn't like? And Shilin is blackmailing him. If he doesn't agree to marry him, he'll expose Yunjo's affair with Sun Ho. Yunjo's reputation will be ruined. In order to protect his beloved, Hee-jun decided to sacrifice himself and make a compromise. Shilin has achieved his goal and told Dongdaemun goddess about his marriage, and Yunjo has already prepared for it. On the day of the wedding, while Shilin was looking forward to it, the guests received a message at the same time. It was announced that Shilin stole Dongdaemun goddess' design. Before she could understand what was going on, Shilin's suitor broke into the wedding. Shilin was completely dumbfounded. Then the gangster revealed that he had kidnapped Yunjo for Shilin, and that Hara ordered him to steal her son. The two of them were on pins and needles when their crimes were revealed. The wedding was undoubtedly ruined. Shilin's dream of becoming a rich man was shattered. But there was a bigger problem than that. The gangster had secretly recorded Yunjo's death. Now they have to shut him up. In order to stabilize the gangster, Shilin had to admit that he was her lover. She begged Jingshu to help her. After all, they're in the same gang. Besides, Dad is helping to manage the secret fund. Jingshu was even more furious about this, because just a few days ago, Shilin's dad took all her money and invested it. The entire $50 billion was invested in the island reclamation project. Jingshu was looking forward to the completion of the project, but she didn't know that Yunjo had dug a hole for them. It's impossible to get the money back. Angrily, Jingshu had Shilin dragged out. After Hara reminded her, Shilin remembered about the recording, so she took the initiative to court the gangster and grabbed his cell phone to erase the recording when he wasn't looking. Shilin had nothing to fear. She scolded him for messing up her wedding. She couldn't be with him no matter what. The gangster lost control of himself. Then Shilin's dad came over. He beat him up without mercy. His heart was trampled on. The gangster saw Shilin's true colors. Sooner or later, he'll make her regret it. The next day, the gangsters stole Jingshu's secret account book. If it was leaked, Shilin's father would also be responsible, utilizing her influence as an entertainer. So Shilin had no choice but to beg him. This gave the gangster hope. Shilin's father went to Jingshu himself to plead for his daughter to stay in the company. Jingshu needed money to invest in a new brand. He asked Shilin's father to mortgage the property in the shopping mall. For the sake of his daughter, Shilin's father asked for help from Deosik, but he didn't realize that this is exactly what he wanted. Yunjo will take the opportunity to take back his family's mall. Jingshu will definitely use the money to invest in the movie. The money will go back to him. In order to raise money for the new brand, she'll embezzle more money from the company, and then Yunjo will reap the benefits. With the launch of the new brand, Shilin had to grab the Dongdaemun goddess to save her life. Yunjo decided to give her an unprecedented design. Shilin was overjoyed and grateful. That day, Hara got a call from her son. He wanted his cell phone and the star doll, so Hara ordered her assistant to pick it up from his grandmother's house. The moment she saw the doll, Hara was shocked. When she found out that Yunjo was pregnant, she found out that Yunjo had named her baby after a star, and that she had burnt the exact same one herself. She rushed to her son's cell phone. and called her son's mystery friend, just as Yunjo came by. When she saw Hara, she hung up immediately. Hara finally realized. Thinking back to the recent events, Hara could not help but suspect that this woman, Jiaxin, was the dead Yunjo. She fled in fear. After some investigation, she learned that Karen Wang was afraid of water. Hara knew it was a legacy of Yunjo's death. Today, there's a pool scene to be filmed. She decides to show Yunjo what she's made of. Then she suddenly pushed Yunjo down. She was so happy to see her struggling in the water. Yunjo tried to swim to the shore, but Hara held her head down and wouldn't let her come up. She wouldn't stop until Yunjo lost consciousness. The staff realized that something was wrong and immediately rescued Yunjo. With Sun Ha's help, she was able to recover. Hara lied that Yunjo fell by herself. How could the director not see her ulterior motive? The producer was furious about Yunjo's drowning. Hara had to apologize to Yunjo publicly. Otherwise, she'd have to cancel her contract. Hara took it out on Sun Ho. Now Hara knows Yunjo's identity. She says she won't divorce even if she dies. Yunjo now realizes that her identity has been exposed. So she confesses that she's Go Yunju. At this moment, she realized that Hara had plotted against her to get Sun Ho. She couldn't suppress her anger any longer. Hara put on a calm face. She said that she won't let Yunjo play with her anymore, and is looking forward to her plan of revenge. And Yunjo vowed to make Hara's life miserable. The nanny asked Jingshu for 100 million for her brother's business, but Jingshu's money was all invested by Shilin's father. When she was refused, the nanny went straight to the old lady. She told her that the first lady was killed by Jingshu 30 years ago. She was pregnant with Hara. In order to take over the position of the first lady, Jingshu injected the first mistress with harmful drugs. The nanny witnessed it with her own eyes. The old lady was shocked to learn this. She immediately went to Jingshu and questioned her. After all this, Jingshu stopped pretending. She threatened to kill Hejun next. The old lady was so angry that she fainted on the spot. She didn't have to be rescued, but her life wasn't in danger. But she couldn't speak anymore. Jingshu had no choice but to pay the nanny. But he has to keep track of the old lady's every move. But Hara overheard their conversation. In order to prevent the mother and daughter from making a move on the old lady, Yunjo arranged for Du Wook to disguise himself as a therapist, and told the old lady that there were cameras in the room. If he can get them to tell the truth, then they will be punished. Then the nanny told the truth about the year, and that would be the proof. Yunjo was furious to learn the truth, so he used this evidence to threaten Hara. If she doesn't return her son to Sun Ho, she'll report her mom for what she did. Hara was wondering, how did Yunjo become Jiaxin, and where did the real Jiaxin go? Then the nanny was called. She asked the nanny who she told about her mom. Just then Jingshu came in. The nanny told the old lady, through eye contact. She understood that the old lady wanted her to be careful of being silenced, so Hara wanted to get rid of the nanny. The next day, Hara ordered the gang to kill the nanny. Luckily, Yunjo found the nanny beforehand. In return for saving her life, the nanny decided to stand by her. The next day, she came back to the house and slapped Hara in the face. Then the nanny warned her not to try to kill herself again, or she'd reveal everything about her mother from 30 years ago. In order to keep the nanny at bay, Hara could only smile. Soon Shilin realizes that Jiaxin is Yunjo. She was afraid that Yunjo would ruin her life. She wanted to get rid of her again with Hara, but Hara doesn't want to be with Shilin anymore. Shilin had to take out a flash drive. This flash drive contains evidence of their crimes. She couldn't take it alone. Hara didn't expect Shilin to keep this trick. At night, when Shilin was sleeping, she sneaks in to destroy the flash drive. The disc contained the evidence of Yunjo's father's death. Just when Hara was about to leave, Shilin suddenly appeared in front of her and attacked her. Hara got up and immediately grabbed it. The gangsters arrived just in time. Shilin's most trusted friend is the goddess of Dongdaemun. She told him what happened to her. Yunjo asked Shilin to share the evidence with him as a friend. That way, she'll be safe. Shilin thought it made sense. Then she passed the evidence to Yunjo. When she saw how they killed her father, Yunjo couldn't restrain his anger. And Shilin's father decided to sell Yunjo his mother's only property in order to raise money for Jingshu. He decided to sell Yunjo his mother's house. Mother and son were evicted and left homeless. This intensified Yunjo's hatred. To teach Shilin's father a lesson, she asked Du Wook to start the next plan. At the moment, Shilin's dad is still dreaming of getting rich. The island reclamation project failed due to the tsunami. He's completely blindsided by it. The $50 million that he borrowed from Jingshu is gone. It was too much for him to bear and he fainted. It was too easy for him to die like that. Yunjo won't stop until he sees his daughter go to hell. Chairman Wang is not idle either. She sent the recording of the nanny directly to Hejun. She did it because her husband ran the company. If Chairman O invests in it, he can avoid bankruptcy. The old lady promised to settle things properly, but Chairman O refused, and bought her husband's company at a low price. That's why her husband chose to commit suicide. Over the years, Ms. Huang has been trying to avenge his death, though she has made some achievements in setting up her company, but he neglected his daughter's development. Hejun learned that his mother was killed by his stepmother. He immediately came to strangle the evil woman. Sun Ho came in time and pulled him out. Hejun couldn't accept the truth. Just when he decided to tell his father, Jingshu called and warned him that if he didn't want his father to be like his grandmother, he should keep it a secret for now. Hee-jun hesitated. Hee-jun went to his mother's grave. He decided not to tell his father, but vowed to make his stepmother pay dearly. Jingshu rushed home. She realized that Hee-jun hadn't said anything. She was relieved. Yunjo didn't want to drag Hee-jun into this war. After all, he's not at fault. But what Yunjo didn't realize, Chairman Huang was just using her. Jingshu wasn't going to let Hee-jun off the hook. She embezzled $2 billion from the company and planted it on Hee-jun. When Chairman Oh found out, he slapped him hard. Hee-jun realized it was his stepmother's fault. He couldn't help but tell the truth about his mother's murder. Mr. Oh was incredulous and asked about it, while Jingshu was at a loss for words. The nanny came home, but she didn't identify Jingshu. She just said it was a misunderstanding. Jingshu is relieved to have survived the crisis. Hee-jun turned away in anger. Then the nanny came over. She fell on her knees in front of Hee-jun. She explained that Yunjo had arranged all this. Yunjo wanted her to regain Jingshu's trust, to find out more of Jingshu's secrets. Hee-jun understood Yunjo's good intentions, and decided to keep quiet about her secret fund. But because of Jingshu's false accusations, Hee-jun will be thrown out of the company. Soon Chairman Huang learns about it. It's not a bad thing for her. Yunjo's good nature is hindering the revenge plan, and she still has feelings for Sun Ho. So Chairman Huang no longer trusts Yunjo. She decided to avenge her father's death in her own way. She met with Hee-jun to propose a solution. That is, to get engaged to Yunjo. With the marriage of the two groups, Jingshu can't touch him anymore. After much hesitation, he agreed. Yunjo didn't agree when she found out that Ms. Huang wanted her to marry Hee-jun, but Ms. Huang insisted. He doesn't give Yunjo any leeway. Chairman Huang mentioned their marriage to Mr. Oh. Jingshu didn't dare offend her, so he had to revoke Hee-jun's resignation in order to catch Yunjo in the act. Hara arranged for the thugs to find out where the real Jiaxin is, trying to drive a wedge between Yunjo and President Huang. But Chairman Huang didn't want to hurt Yunjo. She really thought of Yunjo as her daughter. To make up for her guilt, she took Shilin's father hostage. The mortgage on the property and the store is with Ms. Huang. Under her duress, he told her all about how he took over Yunjo's property. Shilin and her father were thrown out. Now they're both living in an office. Unhappy, Shilin decided she couldn't go on like this. She doesn't want to go back to being the same Shilin who had nothing. So she took out the evidence of her crime with Hara and told Jingshu. On the other side, Sun Ho didn't know Yunjo's real identity. But when he found out that she was going to marry Hee-jun, he felt a deep sadness in his heart. He went to Yunjo's memorial hall to express his longing for her. But just then, he accidentally found the engagement ring he had with Yunjo. Thinking that Jiaxin and Yunjo look alike, Sun Ho seemed to understand something. When he asked the staff, he found out that a woman had put it there, and the woman looked exactly like the last photo. This made Sun Ho confused. He asked the staff to find the surveillance camera and contact him immediately. When he got home, Sun Ho told his sister about this, and Bao Mei hid the fact that he had put it there himself. Sun Ho didn't think much of it, but soon he got a call from a staff member. They said she put the ring on the news about the woman who's getting married to the young master of the group. Sun Ho was shocked. He finally realized that Jiaxin was Yunjo. Meanwhile, Hara approached Yunjo about her mom, but Hee-jun overheard their conversation, and he realizes Yunjo's true identity. He also realizes that Yunjo did it all for revenge. That night, Sun Ho found Yunjo, although she still denied her identity. But Sun Ho already knew it. To find out why Yunjo was hiding her identity, he questioned Hara about what happened 3 years ago. When the matter came up again, Hara's mind flashed back to those days. She was so nervous that she didn't know what to do. She fled in a panic. This deepened Sun Ho's suspicion, so he approached Shilin again, in order to get rid of the guilt. Shilin blamed Hara for everything, and said that she had ordered her to do it. Sun Ho finally realized what had happened to Yunjo 3 years ago. He blames himself for choosing to marry Hara. Sun Ho didn't know how to get Yunjo's forgiveness. He walked down the street in a state of despair. He wanted to die for his sins. Luckily, Hee-jun came and saved him, and the gangsters. After a lot of probing, they found out about trying to drive a wedge between Yunjo and President Huang. Take care of the crazy Jiaxin. She recalled that she lost her 3 years ago, later found, but for some reason, he seemed to be a completely different person. Several people quickly came together to discuss what to do. As long as Ms. Huang believes that his daughter is still alive, then Yunjo will be abandoned, and the woman who owns the kiosk that the gangsters found became the key to their fight against Yunjo. The next day, the shopkeeper's wife came to Ms. Huang. She purposely told him that she had met Jiaxin. Ms. Huang fainted at the news of his daughter. Jingshu's plan succeeded. After this incident, Ms. Huang was deeply shocked. When he woke up, he was found to have vascular dementia. He suffered from memory loss. Ms. Huang is anxious. Even if she finds her daughter, she won't recognize her. She decided to make a new will. The gangsters are still investigating the real Jiaxin. The man who found the woman's body told her, because the body is completely different, he was able to contact her family through the yellow coat she was wearing. The gangster guessed that the woman's body was probably the real Jiaxin. That night, he sneaked into Yunjo's mother's house and found the coat. Shilin said that Yunjo had dyed her hair. The hair on the dress is a solid color. That means it's the real Jia Xin's hair. The paternity test. The deceased is indeed Ms. Huang's biological daughter. Jingshu decided to use the report to sow discord between Ms. Huang and Yunjo. On the day of Jun and Yunjo's wedding, Chairman Huang received a document. It says that he has the real Jia Xin. Through a paternity test, she was convinced that her daughter was still alive. Irritated, Ms. Huang's condition worsened. When she saw Yunjo in her wedding dress, she suddenly had a memory lapse. She thinks Yunjo deceived her and took over her daughter's place. After what she did, the wedding couldn't go on. The secretary informed the chairman of his condition. The paternity test. Yunjo remembered the crazy woman. He gave her his jacket. Yunjo knew that someone had taken her place, but he didn't realize it was Chairman Huang's own daughter. And the culprit of all this is now in a state of bliss. Hara and Shilin are deliberately trying to sow discord between Ms. Huang and Yunjo. Chairman Huang, who is not sober, is furious at the slanderous rumors. At the shareholders' meeting, Chairman Huang revoked all of Yunjo's rights in the company. She had her escorted out. Yunjo tried to refresh Chairman Huang's memory. Chairman Huang frantically searched for pictures of her own daughter. She came across her husband's suicide note. She remembers that her purpose is to avenge her father's death. She lost control of her emotions and approached Mr. O for a confrontation. She vowed to destroy the group he founded, knowing that Ms. Huang was avenging her husband's death. Mr. Wu wouldn't leave him behind. He immediately arranged for a gangster to eliminate Chairman Huang. Chairman Huang had collected enough evidence over the years. She arranged for her secretary to hand over the evidence to a trusted prosecutor. Secretary Wang reminded her that she hadn't eaten for a day, so the two of them went to a small restaurant. The reason why Secretary Wang was so loyal to Chairman Huang, because 22 years ago, a debt collector came to the door. Ms. Huang paid them back with all his savings. From that moment on, he was determined to be by her side for the rest of his life. After dinner, Secretary Wang went to buy dessert, and the gangster took advantage of this interval to come. He lied that he knew where Jia Xin was. M's happy to take him to see her daughter immediately. When the secretary returned, Ms. Huang had disappeared. The gangster took her to the mountains. He pointed out the direction and told her to find it herself. Soon it was dark. Chairman Huang called out her daughter's name. She accidentally fell down the hill. Suddenly, she remembered the past. It was Yunjo who had made up for the pain of losing her daughter for so many years. Yunjo received a message from the secretary and came quickly. She found Ms. Huang dying at the bottom of the hill. Before he died, Ms. Huang thanked Yunjo for being her daughter. In fact, she expected her daughter to die. She just didn't want to accept it. She reminded Yunjo not to be like herself, who lost her most precious person for revenge, losing a loved one again. Yunjo was devastated. When she found out that Mr. O had ordered the murder of Ms. Huang, Yunjo vowed to seek justice for her, to make those evil people pay a heavy price. But all of Yunjo's power in the company has been withdrawn. How can she fight back? To everyone's surprise, Ms. Huang is worried about her amnesia. Her will is for Yunjo to inherit all her assets, even though her own daughter is still alive. She is still crazy. She believed that Yunjo would take good care of her daughter Jiaxin. That's why she made preparations in advance. When she was awake, Yunjo used Jingshu's 50 billion to become the largest shareholder in the group. She demanded a full audit of the group. Jingshu will be the first to worry. If the investigation is carried out, her embezzlement of public funds will be exposed. She had no choice but to stop investing in the movie. Hara soon got a call from the director. Yunjo has the final say in the movie. The director warns her that she must get Yunjo's investment back. Otherwise, Hara will never be able to enter the industry again. And Chairman O bribes a congressman to get into politics. When Yunjo finds out about this, she uses her status as a Dongdaemun goddess to ask Shilin to videotape the whole thing. In order to continue to get Dongdaemun goddess designs, Shilin had to follow the arrangement. Yunjo was able to get his hands on the evidence of Chairman O's dealings with the congressman. To thank Shilin, Yunjo decided to give her a big surprise tomorrow. The next day at the fashion show, Shilin won the show with Dongdaemun goddess design. She became the center of attention. Shilin couldn't wait to tell the goddess the good news. But when Yunjo revealed her identity, she froze on the spot. It turns out she's been tricked all along. Yunjo is the real Dongdaemun goddess. Shilin ran away in disbelief. She accidentally fell to the ground. Yunjo called her a thief. Shilin didn't want to accept the truth. She grabbed Yunjo by the throat. In this moment of danger, Sun Ho and Ho Jun found her in time. What's more desperate for Shilin is yet to come. Shilin's father found out that Yunjo had set up a trap to get away with the $50 million. He was shocked and suffered a heart attack. Yunjo released the video of Shilin killing her father. This was a big shock to Shilin's dad. Soon after, Shilin came over. In the end, Shilin watched her father die in front of her. Yunjo returned the favor, but she didn't feel the pleasure of revenge. Du-wook's father was forced to die by Shilin's father? He turned himself in to the police to fulfill his wish. Shilin's vanity. She blamed her father for not giving her a good life. When the police asked if she had any objections to her father's death, she said she didn't know him. Then she left without her father. In order to preserve her status as a Dongdaemun goddess, Shilin held a press conference and decided to retire. At that moment, she refused to accept her father's body. Such a heartless daughter was reviled by everyone. Shilin fell into a downward spiral and became insane. She was sent to a mental hospital by the staff. Hara was horrified by this scene. She doesn't know what Yunjo is going to do to her. The gangsters hijacked Yunjo to take revenge on Shilin. He wanted her to take him to the mental hospital to see Shilin. Halfway there, the gangster was stopped by someone. As expected, he was sent by Chairman Wu. The injured gangster was still trying to protect Shilin. A truck came out of nowhere and killed him. And next, Yunjo's revenge will target the Hara family. She approaches them and decides to give them a big gift. When Chairman O saw the video of his bribe, he was furious. But there was nothing he could do. Yunjo advised him to turn himself in. Otherwise, the video will be forwarded to the prosecutor's office. Chairman O blames Jingshu for everything. Even Hara, who arrived, was slapped in the face. Mr. O blames both mother and daughter for what they did to Yunjo. How could she be so intent on destroying the entire group? In order to salvage the situation, Mr. O is going to make his wife take poison. He'll take the blame for all the crimes. In fact, he knew what Jingshu had done. He also knew she killed his ex-wife. The reason why he didn't reveal it was because she was useful. When he heard this, Jingshu begged him, but Mr. Wu had no choice. Just when Jingshu was about to drink, Hee-jun came in time, although she was the one responsible for her mother's death. But Hee-jun didn't want that to happen. Hee-jun was terrified by his father's heartlessness. In order to prevent his father from making another mistake, Hee-jun decided to kill his own family. All he wanted was for Yunjo to let go of her hatred, and that everything was just a nightmare. Yunjo is in a lot of pain. All she wanted was for those who did this to be punished. At the press conference the next day, Hee-jun revealed his father's crime of killing Chairman Huang's husband 30 years ago. He also exposed the bribery and corruption of the syndicate. As a result, Mr. O will be investigated by the prosecutor's office. Jingshu was also arrested for multiple offenses. This is a heavy blow to Hara, but she was still focused on her dream of becoming an actress. The final scene was filmed on the suspension bridge where Yunjo's accident occurred. Hara played her role to the hilt. She was in the mood of the day. At that moment, a group of reporters swarmed to the scene. All of Hora's crimes were revealed. Yunjo persuaded her to turn herself in, but Hara didn't do it. She climbed up to the suspension bridge and remembered the beautiful picture she had with Yunjo. That was the moment. She finally felt remorse. Hara waved goodbye to everyone, and then she went straight down, just as she did back then. And this time it was Yunjo who caught Hara. Even with all the resentment in her heart, she was unwilling to let Hara take her life as atonement, and Hora's mind was made up. Watching Hara fall, Yunjo didn't feel the joy of revenge. She had become an evil person by doing evil. She couldn't forgive herself for what she had become, so she went with Hara. A year later, Yunjo woke up, and the movie Hara was in was named Best Actress, but she could never see it again. The crazy Shilin was in a mental hospital. She always fantasized that the gangster was still there. To make up for her loss, with Hee-jun's efforts, the group came back to life. He thanked Sun Ho for making him believe in love. Although Yunjo's body has recovered, but her memories are still stuck in the past 3 years. Maybe it's for the best. This is the end of the movie. If you're interested, you're welcome to like it and follow it. See you next time.